Right, I'm assuming you've already read it, so I can see that this is going to be some sort of rate, time, and distance problem. So you can see me setting up a chart, because I know that rate times time equals distance. And then I know that Perry is going through the country and then through town. So those are the two things we're talking about. So I always read it once and then set up my chart. And then I slowly read it again. And the first thing we see is that he has a 4-hour trip. So I'll come back to that, but I do know right now that the total time is 4. So I was just making a note to myself outside the chart. And we know that he averages 55 miles an hour in the country and 25 miles an hour in town. So I put those in the chart. And then they said something about him, or her, I guess it's a her, traveling 4 times as far in the country than they did in the town, and that we want the total distance. So this is me making little notes to myself, either outside the chart or inside the chart, depending upon where it goes. So now I can go back, and I'm trying my hardest to only use one variable so that I only need one equation. So I can see that since the total time is 4, if I let one of the two times be t, then the other one has to be the total of 4 minus the other t time. So there's one variable right there. And so I also know that rate times time equals distance. So I can use the chart to fill in distance. I know that 55 times t must be the distance that she traveled in the country. And then 25 times 4 minus t must be the distance that she traveled in town. Now it's time to set up an equation. And they told me that she traveled 4 times as far in the country. So if I want to set them equal to each other, then to make the scale balanced, then I would have to set town and take town and multiply that times 4 to get the same distance that the country is. So I started with the distance that she traveled in the country, which is 55t, and then I took 4 times the distance. Remember, that distance that the town was very, very short. So I had to multiply it by 4 to make it equal. So now I'm just going to go ahead and simplify both sides. 55t equals 100 times 4 minus t. 55t is 400 minus 100t, adding 100t to both sides, and then dividing by 155, we see that the time is, actually, whoops, let me get it right there, is 81 over 30, or excuse me, 80 over 31. Now, I'm not going to turn it into a decimal or anything because that doesn't have, excuse me, that's not what they asked for. They asked for the total length of the trip. So I need to take the time and plug it into the two distances. So the first distance is the country distance. And so that would be 55 times 80 over 31. Because you never want to round in the middle of a problem. So we'll go ahead and just use the whole 80 over 31. And we'll see that the distance that she traveled in the country was 4,400 over 31. Now that's in miles. And I'm going to do the same thing with town. The distance she traveled in town was 25 times 4 minus 80 over 31. And so I get a total distance of 1,100 over 31 just for town. So now I'm about to answer the actual question, which is what total distance did she travel? So you add the 4,400 over 31 and the 1,100 over 31, and you'll get 5,500 over 31. And turning that into a mixed number, you'll see that she went a total of 177 and 13 over 31 miles.